goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey there. Thank you for joining me. I'm reading articles that some of you have sent after listening to Friday's program. And it apparently my asking about segregation in Pittsburgh in the 50s and 60s even, I found that sort of astonishing because I had this stupid idea that, you know, when it came to separate facilities like that, that was something that you found in the South, not something you'd find in Pennsylvania. Well, not true. And a lot of you sent me the same piece that, and you had to have gone looking for it, so I appreciate that. That appeared in 2001 in the PG. About the integration of the South Park pools. So, I mean, this was a very, wow. And this points out the absurdity of, like, we're in a post-racial. I mean, it's very, very, very recent. Thomas writes this. Just finished listening to your Friday show. I wanted to comment about racism in Pittsburgh in the late 50s. It's not that Allegheny County built 2 pools in South Park. Originally, they only built one, and it was segregated. Later, a new pool was built, and we were then allowed to use the old pool. I take it by we. Thomas is telling us he's black. There were no signs telling blacks that we were not allowed in the new pool. It was just understood. And Thomas is one who sent me the article. 2 others sent me the same article about the day a black minister took 6 of his congregants over to the new pool, the white pool, and jumped in. Also point out, Thomas does, that Kennywood had an Olympic-sized pool, and in 1953, it closed the swimming pool. And it's generally believed that Kenny would close the pool because they feared they would be forced to integrate it. Park management never said that. They made excuses about, the filtration system is leaking. Although the pool was somehow temporarily used for a boat ride feature. The pool eventually reopened in 1955 to both black and white swimmers. And Thomas says, while it was open to black and white swimmers, it was still understood that blacks were not welcome. And Thomas points out that WQED produced a show called Jim Crow, Pennsylvania, that is available online, that talks about what it was like to be an African American in Pittsburgh and in Pennsylvania. in the Union, all the way up into the 50s and even the 60s. That's the thing. Even early 60s, there are these efforts. But it's fascinating, this piece by Linda Wilson Fuoco about the attempt to integrate the pool at at South Park. So even though, I mean, there were legal suits filed and, I mean, it says here that there were no laws. None of this, everybody just keeps saying that. It was understood. So there was no edict, no signs posted. But if you were black, you'd have to have a death wish to attempt to go into that pool. There were no laws barring blacks from pools, but there was no protection for them. And lawsuits were filed in the early 50s saying that swimming pools had to be safe for Negroes, and those lawsuits were inevitably successful. They won, but nothing changed. So they would win, and nothing really was ever done. And even when they finally sort of get things integrated at the South Park pools, it's 1963. Most blacks continued to swim in the black pool, but obviously a few made a point of going to the white pool. And the county officials, as late as 63, were still only putting black lifeguards in the black pool and white lifeguards in the white pool. That was 1963. And again, a hue and cry was raised by the NAACP and other groups, and they eventually started rotating the lifeguards. So, I mean, again, that to me that's recent history. And here's some, again, interesting history here. So in 64, the Allegheny County Commissioners changed the name of Sully's Pool, that's the white pool, to East Drive Pool. And admission there had always been free. But the commissioners decided it wasn't going to be free anymore, and they were going to impose a 50-cent charge for adults to use the pool and a 10-cent charge for children. Attendance plummeted. I don't know. I think all this came up because somebody had written an op-ed piece about the 50s, which so many white people pine for, some gauzy memory of life in the 50s. And one of the reasons they loved it is because they were on top. And an African-American wrote a response piece saying, the good old days weren't the good old days for us. And it just brings to mind, again, that someone my age, if I had been a black child in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I would have grown up in this environment. And that would have had an impact on me, to be sure. Knowing my temperament, I think it would have made me angry, really angry. Although I can't say that. Maybe it would have made me fearful. I don't know. So, I have to admit to you today that the news is sparse at best. The news that provides fodder for this program. At least to my mind, it's sparse. Even all the newspapers that I read today were thin. They were thin. It was lit. It's like I took them out of their little wrappers, and I thought, geez, this isn't even. Now that could say something about newspapers in general, but also it says something about the fact that we're in August, and just like psychiatrists, the month of August all take off. In a way, news seems to take off August, and I always try to remind myself to take time off in August as well, because it is the slowest news month. It is true. I mean, obviously, if there were unexpected news, then, excuse me, oh God, a natural disaster, a terrorist attack, which is in the news, the possibility of that. But, Congress is on vacation. Well, this Congress is, I won't even bother saying it. It's hard to tell with this Congress when they're on vacation and when they're in session, because when they're in session, nothing happens. And when they're on vacation, of course, nothing happens as well. But state legislatures are on vacation and have been for, at least in Harrisburg, I think for some time. Those guys get paid a really good salary for what is supposedly a 12-month-a-year full-time job with unbelievable benefits and perks. And if you look at how often they are actually in session, again, if you're looking for a way to raise your blood pressure, that would be something you might want to look up. Otherwise, just, remain ignorant. But it's just there's not a lot happening. So I told Jess when I came in, this could be the shortest show on record. I will make an effort to bring up things that I think might be of interest to you. But if they're not, I will understand. Did you see this? I love this. About a Pastafarian? Not a Rastafarian. A Pastafarian? No? Well, this is a guy who says his religion, that he's a Pastafarian. His name is Lucas Novi, and he says that his church is the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Now, I have heard, he didn't make this up. I mean, there are this, I can't remember. Is that a Seinfeld thing?
I don't know.
No, but it's been around. Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, which essentially teaches that a being made out of pasta and meatballs created the universe much as we know it, and all kinds of other things. Anyway, this is what Lucas Novi says is his religion. And he said that as a devotee of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, he wears a pasta strainer on his head as a sign of devotion, much like, Jewish men wear a skull cap, a yarmulke, much like a lot of other religions cover their heads to show their humility and respect for that which is above them. And in, the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, I guess you wear a colander, essentially. Anyway, I'm telling you all this. I do have a picture of him. It's black and white, and you'll have to forgive me. With his...
Oh, my God.
with his colander on. And what you're really looking at is a large blow-up of his, I believe it's his, driver's license. Because he had to go to court to allow his driver's license photo to include his religious headgear, namely the pasta drainer thingamajiggy. So there, he won. He won the case, and that's why you see this. And this is not in the United States. This is in the Czech Republic, which also has laws saying that people have freedom of religion, and consequently, this Pastafarian had the right to wear his religious headgear in his ID card, government ID card. Okay, so. When I said slow, I wasn't kidding. I mean, slow news. What else? Hang on, just checking what you guys have sent to me. Well, there was nothing there. Sorry. Also, I have to say I'm sort of at... what is that phrase when you're at... I'm at it's like two things. I'm at, meaning you're all flummoxed. What is it? It's a phrase. I'm at so-and-so's and so-and-so. Sixes and sevens. You never heard it? Mm-hmm. Sixes and sevens. Well, thank you. I sent a graph of the Pirates' 2-year win and loss We're looking just beautiful, guys. I mean, it's unbelievable. A part of me is a little freaked that this is the first day in a long time, I think almost 2 weeks or more, that there isn't a pirate game. And, I don't know what to do with myself. I've become absolutely addicted. I have. It's so much fun. Becoming a great, great fan. Always have been. Becoming so much more fun when you're winning. Geez, so much more fun. Okay, I have a Reader's Digest here. How I got this Reader's Digest remains a puzzlement to me, but it showed up in my mail. And I have never subscribed to the Reader's Digest, although I have sometimes enjoyed it. Is the perfect thing to have in a doctor's waiting room, there's no doubt. And that's where I've seen it. I like the little jokes that are in it. But it turns out that while I'm paging through this one, there's a quiz about what is your American IQ? And I thought, this is going to be stupid. And it's all these questions about the United States. And do you know, I don't know anything. I'm embarrassed. They have a map of the United States, and they have certain cities in there highlighted, and their place names. Only the place names are nothing you've ever heard of. Like here's one, Pig's Eye. Here's another, Waterloo and Pumpkinville. And these are the original names of American cities that now have other names. And you're supposed to know what Pig's Eye turned into. And Jess said, who cares? What does it matter?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just interesting to know that as I'm looking at Pig's Eye, for instance, it's definitely, it's in Minnesota. It's in Minnesota, and I think it looks like it's where Minneapolis is now. I mean, I think these are all cities that we like. Here they have one, New Amsterdam. That's New York City. I know that one. And there's one that looks like it might be Philadelphia, but it says Shackamaxon. Well, I don't know. I never heard of any of these things. Okay, here's the one that really made me feel like a dimwit, and I haven't looked up the answer. But here is the question, and which 4 states were sovereign countries before joining the United States? Okay, I'm pretty sure at 2. There's somewhere the answers are. I'm pretty sure at 2, Hawaii was a monarchy. So it was its own. Hawaii and Texas.
I thought Texas was part of Mexico, though.
No, they had a little republic there for a while, didn't they? The Republic of Texas. So what are the other 2? What are the other 2? 4 states were sovereign countries before they became state. California? Was California?
Oh, maybe.
Somebody knows? Hello?
Lynn, hey, I'm going to take a guess. Louisiana.
Because but it just wasn't a French. I don't think was it its own country.
No, I thought it was. I'm sorry. I thought it was called the Kingdom of Acadia for a very, very short while. It's a very little known fact. I might be wrong, but not the entire Louisiana territory.
No,
but
just Louisiana.
Mm-hmm, I think so. Yeah.
So
Do you have the answers with you?
Yeah, I'm looking for them now. But I mean, thank you for that.
Okay.
I don't know if that's. How about? Okay, does anybody have? Okay, I'm throwing California as a possibility, Texas, Hawaii, and we have Acadia too. That's Louisiana. I don't know where they said the answers are. Where are the answers? I don't know. I'll find out later. But and here's another one. Who knew? I mean, I like to think I know things. Which animal originated in North America? Which animal originated in North America? The cat, the rat, or the camel? I'm saying rat because I think the cat and the camel were saying, hello?
Hello.
Hi.
I know the answer. It's the Republic of Vermont.
No.
It was for like 3 years, and that's all I know about it.
Vermont?
Yep.
Thank you. Vermont? Who knew? What do you mean? If I can find the answers ever. We can take a break. It's 20 after. Here are the answers. I found them. He's right. Vermont. I want to know more about that. That is bizarre. Texas, Hawaii, California, and Vermont. Wow. And which animal originated in North America? I said rat. The answer is cat.
What?
That's what it says. And I mean, it says cat. And I have the Reader's Digest here. Are you going to argue with that? Okay, well, it's... Man. Okay. Oh, I bet I know this one. Listen to this. Which country's workers toil the most hours on an annual basis? Which country has the hardest put uponest workers? Is it South Korea? Is it Mexico? Is it Russia? Or is it us, the United States? I have absolutely little doubt that the answer is America. American workers are the hardest working folk around. And I bet that's true. But now I can't find the answers again. So let's take a break. And when I come back, I'll let you know if that's in fact true. But I think it is. I think I know that. I'm sorry about this. I told you it's a slow news day. We're left with the Reader's Digest. We're fucked. Bye.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck for Dave 2037 so he can buy anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman. What are you getting Steve 2037?
Steve 2037 will be just fine.
Well, okay, but don't expect to borrow my anti-gravity boots.
Save something for the future. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
This week's Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for a look at the campaign finance reports. Plus, Wiz Khalifa, Yes, David Allen Coe, The Space Pimps, and News the Weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone with GPS-enabled listings at citypapermobile.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Okay, I don't want to play anymore. I was incorrect again. It's totally incorrect on that. The hardest working people. In a year, average South Korean puts in 2,193 hours. So they win. Coming in second, Russia. The average worker puts in 1,976 hours a year. Coming in third, Mexico. 1,866. And coming in fourth place, when I was absolutely certain they were in first, the American worker, on average, 1,778. I don't know. Phooey. I don't want to play that anymore. It makes me feel stupid. Some of you are writing. I love you. I love you. A lot of you are writing. Chris writes, did you hear about a gathering in Kentucky where people were making their... Oh, yes, and I did. It's one of the things. That's the only thing I pulled out of the paper. Boy, Chrissy, I'm on to you. I know what you guys like. This is about that bizarre political ritual of sorts in the frighteningly conservative state of Kentucky, which is represented in the U.S. Senate by Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul. Okay? That's their two senators. And when you're running for office in Kentucky, there's this, it's called the Fancy Farm Picnic. And you have to go and speak, and you have to go and speak and be jeered. What happens is everybody shows up, certain people on one side, others, and they just boo and jeer. Maybe you saw a little bit on TV. Anyway, they do. And you're supposed to be funny. Well, let me tell you, Mitch McConnell is incapable of funny. But the woman, the Democrat, who is likely to run against him if he survives his primary challenge, is a lovely woman named Allison Lundergan Grimes, which is a bit of a moniker. And she had a great line. And this is what you want. Yes. Here it is. Chris, I highlighted it myself. Very funny. She said, if the doctors told Senator McConnell that he had a kidney stone, he'd refuse to pass it. Believe me, that was the funniest line. Here's what Mitch McConnell thinks is, I guess, funny. As long as I'm in the Senate, Kentucky will have a voice instead of San Francisco and Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard, by the way, was mentioned by more than one speaker. It's one of the ways that you get Kentuckians to love you. If you disparage Martha's Vineyard and San Francisco, and I ask you why, well, that's San Francisco, gay people, Nancy Pelosi kind of people. Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, where all those elitist rich people go. Clinton vacation there. I believe the Obamas have vacation there. So Martha's Vineyard, according to the New York Times, played a recurring cameo in the Fancy Farm lunacy. One of the Republican candidates stood up and derided his Democratic challenger for and he vacationed at Martha's Vineyard. And, all hell breaks loose. He's lucky to have gotten out of there alive. I took my wife, he says, to Dollywood. Oh, God. It's slow news day. Chris has written about Nixon. Did you, and I was at a wonderful barbecue last night, and I was asked this same question. Did you see that special that CNN had on Nixon? And I had to say no. And now you're telling me it was repeated again last night. It's called Our Nixon, and you are saying what my dinner companions were saying. It is really good. Chris says, I was only turning 11 the year he resigned. Oh, you young stuff. So for me, it was really enlightening. They have all kinds of video that we've never seen before. And Chris says that it was taken from home movies that Ehrlichman and Chapin, Dwight Chapin, these are all names from Watergate, guys, took while they worked in the Nixon regime. And CNN also has audio from conversations that were tape recorded by Nixon and Haldeman and all of them. Interesting stuff. Starts in '69 and leads up to his resignation. If you haven't seen it, try to catch it. Okay, I will. And what I told my dinner companions last night, I said, what's amazing about Nixon? And we've talked about this. If you were to just write out his domestic agenda and the bills that were passed while he was president and signed by him as president, you would be blown away to find out that this was a Republican presidency. It today would look like a liberal Democratic presidency. And that is, again, evidence of how far to the right this country has been pushed in the last 40, 50 years. Really. I mean, Richard Nixon was he was like liberal, progressive. He would be labeled such today. It's mind-blowing. These were, it's like we were, when Scranton died recently, looking at his record as a governor. And these are Republicans. And man, unbelievable lengthy tomes will be writ about what happened to the Republican Party between, let's say, Watergate, between Nixon and the present. What happened? It's odd. I mean, they will never, as currently constituted, ever win a national election again. Now, there's only a national election every 4 years, and there's only one position in our government that is a national office, and that is the president. So, as currently constituted, and given the demographics of this country, there is no way the Republicans will ever win the presidency again. But they could become, where we're heading, it scares the hell out of me, is that the presidency will be for Democrats and the Congress will be Republican. Because that could well happen in 2014, next year. They'll keep the House, and they could take the Senate. And then you will have essentially the victory of the Tea Party, because you will have a government that simply will not function. Will not function. So if the Republicans decide that they can live with never having the presidency, but simply being that big boulder in the road, then that's what we're going to have. I don't know what it'll take. It has to take a huge sea change in the way people, namely American voters, conduct themselves, I guess. And PJ sends me an old black and white photo that was one of the many, many, many taken by Teenie Harris, the wonderful chronicler of Black Pittsburgh. And this is a picture that is obviously taken, I'm going to say we're downtown here in Pittsburgh, and it's black women holding signs and picketing an Isley's. And just to set the date, in the Isley's, they're advertising a chocolate milkshake for 25 cents. But the signs they're carrying say, Isley's discriminate against Negroes by refusing to hire them as counter clerks. Unfair to Negroes. Buy where you... something every... Well, there it is. And this is clearly 50s. So, PJ writes, so many white folks talk with nostalgia about Isley's in the good old days. Well, he says, here's a photo of Isley's in the good old days. Wow. And Dexter, slow news day. There's stuff always going on, Lynn. So it might be a slow, sexy news day, but here's a story of a young guy shot, I know, while trying to leave a altercation. This is the guy, the former football player from Slippery Rock, 24 years old, dead. And the altercation was in front of the infamous O in Oakland, the original hot dog. And somebody turned themselves in. Did you see that? This is very odd because somebody went to the police the next morning and said, I was there and, and confessed in some manner. And the police let that person go. Oh, I'm very odd. I don't understand it. And I have to admit, I haven't, I guess, been looking, going through the news coverage of it with a fine-tooth comb or anything. But Dexter asks a good question. Who decides which stories become the explosive national stories and which stories end up never, making just a blip on the radar of the national consciousness? It's an interesting question. And we know that we have lived through many stories of young women who are missing and or abducted, things like that. But they only those stories only take off if it's a white woman. So black women missing and or abducted never make the grade, do they? Can you think of one? No. So that plays a role. Also plays a role is if there is any news when the story breaks. I've never understood it either. Why does the whole nation know who Casey Anthony is? Or why does somebody know about one murderer or case when there are so many? I don't know. And Dexter says, sorry to be a downer. Have a good week. Thank you, Dexter. About that Pirates graph, that's the same graph, Ray. Here's a graph I've been keeping comparing this year with last year's collapse. Yeah, I know. That's the one. And I'm telling you, we're looking really good. We're looking really good. We're what? Still a game and a half up on the Cards, who have been beating up on Cincinnati, beating up on the Reds. Thank you very much. It's odd how it seems like we don't know how to beat the Reds, but we do know how to beat St. Louis. Doesn't that seem... I mean, am I misremembering that early in this season we had a 3-game series in St. Louis and we swept it in St. Louis? Am I remembering this right? I think so. And then they come here for a 5-game stand and we take 4 out of 5? Meanwhile, Cincinnati, they're rough. Just like we didn't used to be able to beat Milwaukee. We're now scraping bottom. But I bet if we were to play them, and I'm sure we will play them again, I mean, for some reason, I don't know. But yes, this is the year. Now, I admit I've been saying that for about the last 4, but this is the year. And if you're a fan, it is about as wonderful as it can be. Wonderful as it can be. So thank you very much. Did I take a second break?
No.
I did not? Well, then I think we better. Thank you guys, by the way, for all this. Thank you. Mwah! I love it, you. I love it, you. That's what my Athena used to say to my son, his nanny. I love it, you. I love it, you. I love it, you. I mean it.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Chris, you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
There's your comic book collection, the race car bed.
I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I'm taking control over my financial life, and that feels pretty grown up to me.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org. Are those footy pajamas?
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. This week, great deals on gift cards to Seba, Cadillac Ranch, and Luke Woolies. Supplies are limited. Bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. Bergbargains.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Chuck writes, there was a movie, he says this is a state that was almost a country. There was a movie called The Baron of Arizona, starring Vincent Price. Oh, I bet that was a beaut. It was a true story about James Addison Peralta Rivas. Man. And he was called the Baron of Arizona. He was a crook. He was a forger and a fraudster. Is fraudster a word? Forger and con man. Fraud. He made fraudulent I'd go with. He made fraudulent land claims in the late 1800s that, if certified, would have granted him ownership of part of Arizona and thus a separate country. I'm not following this, but I'll take your word. He was convicted of frauds and spent a couple of years in jail. Chuck and Cuddy. Well, I'm still blown away about Vermont having been a country. So Vermont wasn't... Name the 13 original colonies. We could come close, couldn't we?
I'll just look it up.
Come on, Jazz. Come on. We can come close. Okay, I'm going to start right here. Pennsylvania. Then I'm going to New York. Then I'm going to Virginia. I don't know why. Then I'm going to...
Delaware.
Delaware, you think? Then the Carolinas, or north and south. Mm-hmm. Then Massachusetts. I'm all over the place, I know. What?
Maryland. Did you say Maryland?
No, I didn't, but thank you. Maryland. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, geez. Okay, up there in the did I say Rhode Island? Did I say Rhode Island? No.
Think so.
Okay, Rhode Island.
Did you say Virginia?
I said Virginia. Is there anything else in the South? Georgia? Georgia. Yeah. But I'm missing something up there. Rhode Island, Connecticut.
Yeah.
So what am I missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Missing 2. Something in the South? Mississippi? No. That wasn't there. Was it? Alabama? No. But...
What do you have?
New Jersey? Mm-hmm. But we're still missing one. I think it's up in New England.
Hampshire.
Huh?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. That's it. Okay. So like Vermont and Maine, we're still not there. But who would have been... Okay, that's just a new one, Vermont. I never knew it. Oh, Joseph, thank you. This is a great, I like to see a subject line like this. Sickening story from Wisconsin. Are you does it have to do with Scott Walker? Does it have to do with the takeover of my once beloved progressive home state by these yahoos? Does it? It is Scott Walker. Oh, please, spare me. Although I'll look. This is from something he sent me from Crooks and Liars. I've heard about this. God, and Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, is talked about very seriously by the Republicans as a possible. They love him because he beat back that recall effort and because he's so aggressive. Oh God, I hate this. No, I can't do this story. Armed agents in Wisconsin. This has to do with militarization of all these. Armed agents in Wisconsin raid an animal shelter for a baby deer. There were Department of Natural Resource agents, 4 deputy sheriffs, all armed to the teeth. This is one of those things where, I'm sorry, the Department of Natural Resources in Wisconsin now probably has a SWAT team. And one can hardly imagine all the gear they have and what it cost. And we're talking about every little agency with more than 7 employees now, practically, has a SWAT team. And they don't have anything to do. But they like playing. It's like playing cops and robbers, like playing cowboys and Indians. You get to play with all these toys. And so, this SWAT team of 9 agents, armed to the teeth, they went after a baby deer, a fawn, named Giggles. I'm assuming this is because it's illegal to have a deer as a pet? Yeah, because it's considered wildlife and you can't possess wildlife. So yes, let's send a SWAT team into the no-kill humane shelter to go after Giggles the fawn. Jesus. What did they do? Don't tell me they killed the deer. No, they got the baby deer. They threw it over their shoulder. The deer was in a body bag. Oh my God, did they kill it? Oh. I can't look. It had been brought to the shelter by a concerned couple in Illinois who thought the deer had been abandoned by its mom and was concerned that it wouldn't be able to fend for itself. But little did they know that the state of Wisconsin cares mightily about that deer, too. And doesn't need any do-gooder progressive types trying to help out. No, we'll send a SWAT team in. Good God! Okay, so. Okay, Ray says the better question is, what in the world are you doing with the Reader's Digest? Did you raid a doctor's office? Well, I guess you came in a little late, Ray, because I don't know how I came in possession of this. It was sent to me and arrived at my home in the mail. And because I can't not read, I found myself picking it up the other day and came upon that. I love nothing better than taking little tests so I can show myself I'm so smart. And then I thought a Reader's Digest test. I will ace this baby. And I didn't get anything right, not one. And I've continued today not to get anything right. I don't even, there are other things in here I could, so yeah, I didn't steal it, but it did come to me unsolicited, shall we put it that way. So the other story I did want to... Nixon again? Chris! Hang on. Lynn, you certainly wouldn't have said he was more of a liberal if you heard his comments. Well, I know. To Ehrlichman regarding that show he watched last night, where the older fat man was discussing with his liberal son-in-law the subject of homosexuals. Obviously, he was talking about All in the Family. And his comments regarding homosexuals were unbelievable. Times truly have changed since then. Yeah, well, Nixon and all those tapes is also caught. I mean, he's unbelievable anti-Semite. I mean, the way he talks about Jews is just, it's unbelievable. Just a classic anti-Semite. But I'm just telling you, environmentally, in terms of a lot of safety net programs, he would be considered a liberal, a progressive. You guys are saving my ass today, and I cannot thank you enough. I had one thing to talk about, and I haven't even been able to get to it because you have been contributing so much. I love it, you! Lynn, I would be interested on your take. Why are the three religions for over there? What? So anti-women's freedom. From the promo. You talking about what? This is a New Republic thing. This week's cover story is about the Orthodox, this is Jews. Okay, the Orthodox women of Beit Shemesh, which is a suburb of Jerusalem. They dress modestly and hardly consider themselves feminists, but they also live among an increasing number of ultra-Orthodox. Orthodox is not enough. There's ultra-Orthodox on top. It's sort of like, if you look at sizes of detergent, the smallest one is like giant size, and then there's humongous, and then there's economy, and then there's... So the words cease to mean anything. Okay, so then there's ultra-Orthodox Jews who have a totally primitive view of women. The ultra-Orthodox men have perpetrated a series of gruesome assaults on Orthodox women. Just yesterday, they attacked 3 buses in this suburb with hammers and demanded that the female passengers move to the rear. Yes. And the story in the New Republic chronicles the radicalization of these Orthodox women. I'm glad to hear it. They've decided they won't tolerate abuse anymore. Their quest for justice has thrown them into the arms of unlikely allies, which are, of course, fellow women. That doesn't seem to make any sense. From the Reform branch of Judaism and the conservative movements of Judaism. And the last sentence here is, this battle against the ultra-Orthodox will shape the future of Israel. Listen, when it comes to these ultra-Orthodox, here's what they don't understand. They are a graver threat to the future of Israel than any enemy Palestinians or Iranians or anything. What could destroy Israel is inside Israel, and it's the ultra-Orthodox. That's what I think. So yeah, you've got, I don't know. They have an undue amount of influence of this current government. And they're the ones who are building all those settlements. They're the ones. I don't know. I don't know what you do with these people, but I love the fact that Orthodox women are being turned into true feminists because of these despicable men. Despicable men. Don't even get me started. I'd like to really. And as a Jew, whenever there is a story about Jews or Israel, and in a regular, mainstreamish kind of newspaper, and the accompanying photo is always of these ultra-Orthodox men, and it drives me crazy because I have no more affinity to them than I do to Reverend Sun Myung Moon and the Universalist Church. They are the Taliban of Judaism. They're nuts. I will undoubtedly hear from some people about this. And it's okay with me. Okay with me. All right. And somebody wants to talk about the Venice Beach tragedy. What's there to say? What possibly can be said? Some guy willfully took his car onto, like a boardwalk or something there in Venice Beach and literally tried to run over as many people as he could. It's hard to even conceive of that kind of thing. And he did manage, to kill one woman who was a young bride on her honeymoon. And I think she's foreign, maybe Italian. That's what I'm remembering. I mean, it's stories like this are so horrible. I don't even know what. So the story I never got to, guys, is a story about how they grew a hamburger in a lab.
What?
They grew a hamburger. And you know what? This is huge because... And then they had a bunch of food experts eat it at a news conference in London. And you don't want to hear about it. But the fact of the matter is, this is the future of food. Guess who was the financial backer for all of this research that allowed for the first lab-grown hamburger? It was Sergey Brin, whose name might ring a bell because he's the little genius who co-founded Google. And he obviously is thinking that this is where food is going, the manufacture of meat, because there's people in the world who need food. I don't know. This is how they did it. They took cells from a cow, and then they turned those cells into strips of muscle. And then they took that muscle and ground it up and made a patty and made a burger. You know what? I'm making burgers tonight. I don't think I should do this and continue. So the critics who ate it didn't particularly like it. It didn't taste like a real burger. It tasted like, here's what they say. It's a quite intense taste. It's close to meat, but it's not that juicy. The consistency is perfect. Then another food writer said, the mouthfeel is like meat. I miss the fat, though. There's a leanness to it. But the general bite feels like a hamburger. What is different is the flavor. It needs more salt and pepper. But it's a very good start. So that rather than terrorizing animals and having to kill them, we'll just grow the meat in a lab. That's where things are heading, folks. I'm sure of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you again. I never in my wildest dreams thought we were going to fill an hour. I love it, you. Have a wonderful day. And what are we going to do? There's no pirate game on tonight. Okay, I'll make it. I used to have a life before this, didn't I? There was a football game on last night.
Lookin game.
Ah, jeez, give me a break. Blech. Okay, bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.